Hey there, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all doing well. My name is Sana Al-Gharib, a teacher trainee at Sagamaf in Zgan English department, and today you are going to watch a PetchaKutcha about the natural approach. So, get ready guys, take a pen and paper, and let's get started. In fact, when Mr. Atlag assigned me this topic, I was very worried about how can I cover all the questions I have in my mind and explain it to people with my very little knowledge in the field of teaching in general. I remember that I stayed up late at night that day, googling information, watching videos here and there. I came across a number of detailed articles that I just couldn't read simply because I am the queen of laziness. So I went through titles and I noticed that two names kept popping up all the time, Stephen Krashen and Tracy Terrell. And then I said to myself, let's see if these guys are still alive anyway. I googled Krashen's biography first because we already talked about him in Mr. Shara's class. I started reading about him and guess what? I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw his phone number available for WhatsApp calls. I mean, how could someone very busy like Mr. Krashen allow people to call him? I woke up very early the next day and I made the call. Now I want you to know that what you will be hearing here is the most reliable information about the natural approach because I interviewed Mr. Krashen personally and I will be just in brief reporting to you. Well, in 1983, Krashen and Terrell have developed and published their book, The Natural Approach, which contains a theoretical part tackled by Krashen and a section on implementation and classroom procedures prepared largely by Terrell. They consider their approach as a traditional approach, basically because it is based on the use of language in communicative situations without reference to any grammar analysis or theory. Communication is the primary function of language, and that's why students should be emotionally encouraged to use L2 to talk about their ideas and express their feelings. In the natural approach, vocabulary is considered the heart of language and not grammar. Sorry, dear grammarians, but this approach places decreased importance on conscious grammar, rules, drilling, and explicit correction of students' errors. We want our students to speak freely and spontaneously. In fact, the natural approach is closely related to Krashen's theory of second language acquisition, and it is often seen as an application of the theory to language teaching. And as we all know, this theory is based on 5 main hypotheses that were very important at that time and that still make sense today. The first hypothesis is the acquisition learning hypothesis that states that there is a strict separation between conscious learning of language, which is based on rules, and subconscious or natural acquisition of language, which is based on understanding, and that only acquisition leads to fluent language use. The relationship, therefore, between learning and acquisition according to the monitor hypothesis is that the learned system plays the role of the monitor or editor, polishing the performance of the acquired system's output to appear better. And this mission requires learners to be focused and relaxed. The third hypothesis is the input hypothesis. I actually had a problem with this one, but Mr. Krashen made it clear, stating that it is concerned only with acquisition, and it says that people acquire language best from messages that are slightly beyond their current competence, and this is what they call I+1. Another hypothesis is the natural order hypothesis that says that the grammatical structures are acquired in a predictable order. Some structures tend to be acquired before others, regardless of the learner's age, conditions, and mode of exposure. For example, we acquired the grammatical structures of yes or no questions before WH questions. The fifth final hypothesis is the affective filter hypothesis that sees the learner's emotional state and attitude as an adjustable filter that either freely passes or blocks input necessary to acquisition. The hypothesis identifies 3 kinds of affective variables related to second language acquisition: motivation, self-confidence, and anxiety. Learners with high motivation, good self-image, and low anxiety generally receive more input, whereas learners who are nervous or distressed may not learn features in the input that more relaxed learners would pick up with little effort. In the natural approach, The teacher speaks only the target language, and he is the primary source of comprehensible input. He must create or she must create a positive and low anxiety climate and choose to compose a rich mixture of classroom activities based on students' level, needs, and interests. Learners, for their part, should engage in classroom communicative activities, participating only by acting commands in the pre-production stage, responding with short answers in the early production stage, and contributing their personal information and opinions in the speech emergent stage. Materials must come from realia rather than from textbooks, since the primary aim is to promote comprehension and communication. Pictures and visual aids are very essential as they facilitate the acquisition of a large number of vocabulary within classroom. Well, I actually wanted to ask Mr. Krashen more questions, but I suddenly heard my mom shouting, "Wake up, you lazy, it's 2 a.m." And then my story went from one valley to another, and I'm still stuck with tasks here. How could you believe that I would wake up early in the morning anyway? So guys, this brings me to the end of my presentation, and I personally liked how the natural approach borrows from different methods and calls for the integration and adaptation of different techniques and materials. Now, I will leave you with a few tasks to check your understanding and to pay me back for my ideal effort. Thank you so much for following. Have a good day, everyone.